Hey guys, how's it going? I'm EG Magnum. This is going to be my wrap-up and summary video of the D4 podcast Campfire thing that they did. And I'm also going to try to be quick about everything as far as the main points. And then later, I'm going to talk more in depth about it and my thoughts on it a little more. So I'll go and get that kind of up front for people that just want to know what was in what they said and mostly what they talked about and the important things. Also, I'll have the full video of my reaction up on YouTube at some point. If it's not already up by the time this comes out, it'll be the next couple of days whenever I can highlight that out and upload it. Other than that, though, I will say, how did I think they do on this? I think they did okay. Now, those papers there that my camera is sliding over, there were apparently around 13, 15 pages, something like that, of notes that there was important things there, and that's apparently stuff coming in the preseason, in the season 1, or even in season 2, and we're going to get one or two big patches before, one patch before and one patch during, or on, I guess, season 1. So I would love to hear them go more in depth in that, rather than, them having fun at the beginning and joking or whatever between each other. Yes, they obviously definitely did it live with that, and they didn't really have a structure planned, and it is what it is. But then them putting a lot of qualifying stuff, I don't want to say excuses, that's the wrong word, but pretty much explaining why they're doing certain things and kind of qualifying what they're doing. There was maybe a little too much of that in there. For instance, they described, well, the first thing they said, they described what a hot fix was. And I don't think they really needed to talk about that as much as they did. Now, the rest of the stuff, the next thing they talked about, and let's go ahead and just get into this. We'll go right down the list here, and then I will go back through and talk about it more. Okay, so let's go. First important thing that they kind of pointed out was the Nightmare Dungeon XP buff. This should be coming in Season 0 or Season 1. Also, I will say this real quick. The Season 2 means about late fall is what they said. So yeah, anything that says Season 2 will be that. So the other thing is they will have a way to TP to them, either with either a portal in town, or you'll just go teleport to them. They're just trying to work out a way that it's not exploitable for people, say, in hardcore and stuff like that. They did not mention anything about loot, and the only thing they said about pack size is it's going to be pretty much where it is already, and they're not planning on buffing it. So there is that. I will mention something on that later. Renown with Lilith altars and discovery of areas. This will carry over to Season 1, meaning that the map will also be revealed to your characters in Season 1. This means Alts 2. Waypoints, side quests, and dungeons, as well as strongholds, will still need to be completed to max out your renown. What this means, though, is you will get 5 skill points and 5 potions to begin with, and be about halfway or more on a couple of areas to getting the next skill point for renown in each area. So, after that, they talked about the inventory with gems taking up too much space. This is going to be converted to a material. Also, there was a cap of 10,000 currently for materials. This will also be increased. Don't quote me on this, but I believe they said 25,000 is going to be the new cap or something like that. This should be late Season 0 or might be Season 1, but should be Season 0. Resistance changes are coming, though, sadly, in Season 2. They acknowledge that there is a problem, that we were correct on, that the resistances are not as effective as they should be. But apparently we were also wrong about how resistances are calculated or something like that. But anyway, either way, this is going to be around Season 2, sadly, when this is fixed. They definitely want to make sure that it's not any game-breaking thing they introduce. They then mentioned they like to prioritize content over fixes, and I feel like this was a kind of another qualifier statement, but the reason why I put this here on a note is, personally, I think fixes sometimes can be content, so there is that. But, they did mention it, So it is what it is. But I think this was just mainly too much of one of those qualifier statements. But yeah. So I put a note on it. It's something that hit me, so I'll talk about it here later. Disconnect protection from hardcore. This is going to be implemented, sadly, again, a Season 2 thing. But what they're going to do and the way they're going to make it work is Scroll of Escape will be used on DC. So the example is like if your cord's ripped out of your router, there you go. It should use a Scroll of Escape. Now, of course, there's going to be problems with it. It's going to be a flawed system. And they're also going to be looking at trying to figure out another fix for like people loading out of dungeons, and when they load in, they're dead. World boss caches. This is going to be a fix coming as a hot fix soonish, and that was a bug. So the world boss cache being a little too high level, that is confirmed a bug. Next thing, which debated me into thinking they were talking about something else, but item level requirement. So I'll have something to say here in a minute. But the item power, they don't really have much to do with each other, and main thing is the important number is the item power. The item level requirement is literally just based on what your character level is, and the item power is really the main thing that you're looking at. So the higher the item power, the better the item, essentially, for the most part. I think this is just more of maybe a complaint they got from lower level characters, because almost every instance, once you get a little bit into the game, item power is going to be way higher than your required level, because like, you know, you're finding 700 and 800 items. Then they talked about the social features that are coming. Fixing a lot of the social bugs is also going to be a priority, and they want people to send feedback on bugs. They also kind of talked about too, any bugs or feedback that you have, they do welcome it in general. Not just for social features, but they weren't really specific on the social features, so yeah. But that's about it. There was one last thing, I guess, in the QA section. They did mention something about hairstyles. I think is probably about the only thing, kind of, something that they would add. Other than that, a lot of the stuff in the QA section, sadly, I didn't think was that good of questions that they answered and that they picked out. But anyway, overall, though, let's go into it again. I'll go back up the list and I'll give kind of my thoughts a little more in depth. Okay, so let's talk about these a little bit more. So, social features. Now, really, right now, all we got is a guild thing, and that's about it. And, you know, it is what it is. Now, I think, though, another social feature is trading. So let's get into the item level requirement. One of the big issues that I have with the item level requirement is that, I mean, really, how do you make alts, and how do you help gear up your alts with gear that you have from your other characters? You don't really right now, because especially if you hit level 100, that means every item you pick up has a required level of 100, and there's no way to lower that. This is a problem, especially why does account bound stuff need to be like that? And if you're finding stuff for other classes, that means you're going to have to re-level another class. So unless it's the perfect item that you're going to use at level 100, there's no really reason to keep anything from another class ever. And I think that's a huge problem. So I was hoping they were going in that direction with this, but they did not. So hopefully they do something in the future with level requirement, because right now there's no use for alts. Well, no use in farming for alts on your main character. And also, this means you can't help out your friends, especially if there's somebody who doesn't have as much time and you want to help them out with a little bit of a power boost, and you find a decent item that you know they're going to use. You could give that to a friend of yours. Well, there's nothing they can do to it to change it from like 100 to 60, and that's, you can find an item at level 60 and it'd be just the same or better as something you could find at level 100, and that's a huge issue. But anyway, let's move on though. Hopefully they do something to fix that. Next, we have the world boss caches. I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully they get that hotfix out soon. Disconnect protection from hardcore. Again, sadly, it's not happening till Season 2. I'll probably just play pretty scarcely in hardcore until that fix is in. Overall, though, I am looking forward to doing some hardcore, and I'll definitely play more probably post Season 2. The prioritizing content thing. I've been trying to think of a good example of this, But like the one thing that I could say would be a fix, um, the item level requirement thing. I think that would be a fix. That creates content. Trading with friends, making alts, that creates content technically, right? If you're another thing, white items and blue items are useless after a certain point. You can't do anything to them to make them better. That would be really cool. I think that's content. And technically that would be considered a fix, I think, because I think it's a problem that white gear and blue gear is useless after a certain point. So there we go. That's all I'm saying. I don't think they really needed to point that out. That's the main thing, Feels like they were maybe apologizing for something they didn't need to apologize for something. Then the resistance thing, again, it's just unfortunate that it's coming later than sooner, but hey, hopefully though they don't end up just nerfing armor into the ground or something like that. Then the gym inventory thing, that's always nice quality of life. Getting some tabs and stuff would be cool too, but hey, I don't want to turn this into too much of a list of things I would like to see, but yeah, that is nice. I'm looking forward to that. Now the renown thing. This one, there was a lot of big L renown in chat when they were talking about this, and even at the end and everything else. It's kind of unfortunate, but I mean, I think this is a good compromise, personally. I would have definitely grinded it out, and I mean, you're grinding to level 100 anyway. You're going to get most of it done with just doing dungeons, especially if you're doing nightmare dungeons. That kind of alleviates some of this, because if you're just spamming nightmare dungeons, you're going to get a lot of extra renown. The only thing I'm going to grind for immediately is those extra base skill points, and then I'll be just doing nightmare dungeons, and then when I get to the point that I definitely need my Paragon points, probably go hit some side quests to finish it off. But until I hit level 50, and until I hit probably like 60 or 70 from doing nightmare dungeons, I'm probably not going to worry too much about getting those Paragon points immediately, and by then, hopefully, not that much is going to be needed from side quests to go ahead and fill those out. Also, again, going to waypoints just means going to an area. That's not as bad as finding all the Lilith altars, and most strongholds will have a waypoint with them as well, being a little bit more than 100. So, that's always nice. I don't think it's going to be that bad of a grind, and honestly, running around everywhere was kind of one of the worst parts, but you kind of needed to see everything. So yeah, definitely less traveling, and the altars being a thing. If I had to redo those, that would be tilting. I'm just saying. Now that one I would get tilted at. Nightmare XP buff. The main thing here is the loot, and I think there's a problem here. Now for the casual or the hardcore, there's going to be two things that's going to happen here. For the casual, it's going to be a problem because I could see them dying a lot and complaining about, why am I dying? Because if they start into nightmare dungeons and they're leveling faster than they already have been, they're not going to be used to knowing what they need to do for gearing and getting the defense layers they need. Because armor, as you level, gets less effective. And even, the answer is to do a lower nightmare dungeon at that point till you get the gear. But at the same time, so luckily they don't scale, but that means if you go to do, say, a Helltide, you're just going to get obliterated, which is going to be something a casual player probably won't pay attention to. Now in hardcore, that's a skill issue, so fair enough. But, that is going to be a problem where people getting into hardcore, or, you might think your character's a little bit stronger than it actually is, and then you go do the Helltide and you just get one shot or something unfortunate happens, right? So there is that, and I think that's going to be a problem that they're going to have to fix, which could be, limiting how far things scale or something in each of the tiers. Like, monsters will scale up to 80, 85 in tier 4. And then they only scale to 70 in tier 3. Or they only scale to 50 in tier 2, maybe, right? I think that would be a nice fix that they could implement. As well as if Nightmare is supposed to be the end game, that's how you have to hit 100. I think that would be a pretty cool change as well. Now, the pack density would also fix this, so hopefully they do up the density, which also, I will say, will up the difficulty as well of Nightmare Dungeons. More risk, more reward. That's always a good thing, I think. So, yeah, that would be really cool. I hope they do hit the density, or hit, probably, that's a negative word, I guess, but up the density, at least a little bit. and that way, or up the loot a little bit, one or the other. Because right now, I feel like there's going to be a problem there, especially on the loot side of things. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it. Like, comment, subscribe. Usual stuff in the description below. Twitch, Twitter, Discord, TikTok, and Instagram. Let me know any and all thoughts in the comments down below about anything that, you know, some of the stuff I didn't mention, specifically the Q&A section. Did I miss something there that was a little more important than what I thought? So let me know in the comments below, and what your thoughts are on any of the things that they talked about, and anything that I said as far as, you know, my opinion on how they did and what I think they could do better. But anyway, that'll be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace!